Thank you so much for joining me. A very tough loss against Augusta. After watching some of the film, what were some of your reactions? Because the team shot particularly very well, over 40% from the floor. Probably something that you were very pleased with, but there were some questionable calls from the referees. I guess just some of your reaction to the game against Augusta over the weekend.
Well, if you look at the game statistically, I think we probably shot one of the highest percentages we shot all year. We shot almost 48% from the floor. It all comes down to scoring droughts again, I think. If you look, I think watching the film Saturday night, we went 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes, something like that. At the end of the first quarter, only scored 2 points, so we only scored 6 for the quarter. And then the second half of the third quarter, we had another scoring drought. With that said, when you let somebody shoot 20 more free throws than you do, unless you're doing other things head and shoulders better than the opponent, you're probably going to lose the game, and that's what happened. Most of the statistics were even. I think we made the same amount of three-pointers. I think that the rebounding was even. The turnovers were about even. We did make some turnovers in the second half, made some poor decisions and turned the ball over some that hurt us some. But basically the difference in the game is they go to the line 36 times and we go 16. It's just hard to beat somebody like that.
Right. I think something that you were pleased with was Aaliyah's performance. Despite only playing 19 minutes of the questionable technical fouls that were called, I think a positive thing was she was on a roll. And I think if she played the whole game, she probably would have ended up with 30 points. 9 of 9 from the floor, 3 of 3 from the free throw line. It seemed that everything that was going offensively for Aaliyah was going her way.
Yeah, and now she made a shot or two that was like, wow. But otherwise, she was just attacking. I mean, she was very patient in the post. She attacked off the dribble. She was playing extremely well. And it's just disappointing not to have her in the game. On the flip side, we've got to keep our poise. Even when we feel like that might not have been the right call, we've got to keep our poise and keep our head and have enough discipline not to let that affect us, and we did. But yeah, she played extremely well.
My question for you, I guess during that time, what is the message to the team after Aaliyah exits the game? Because the next leading scorer for the Braves only had 7 points. So what was the message after Aaliyah exited the game as they're trying to keep an offensive flow?
I just think the first thing was just settle down a little bit. We were letting too much stuff get in our heads, and when you do that, you can't play basketball. And go back to being disciplined and doing what we do. And to our girls' credit, we struggled most of the fourth quarter again to score a little bit, and they made some big shots. But we made a nice little run at the end where we kept fighting and coming back and made a couple shots and put a little pressure on them. But, it was just too little too late by then.
What's it like to return home after a 3-game road trip? It's going to be Neon Night on a Wednesday night against Aiken. I guess just the atmosphere and finally getting a chance to return home after a long road trip.
Yeah, it's always good to play in the Jones Center, and it's just strange. It seems like every Saturday we've gone to Georgia for like 5 Saturdays in a row. I believe it's been, or close to that. Georgia Southwestern, it was Clayton, it was North Georgia. It just seems like it was Augusta. It just seems like we've been there every weekend. So it's going to be nice to have 3 out of our last 4 at home, and hopefully we'll play well. We need to.
Absolutely, and with Neon Night being a buzz, it's going to be an electric atmosphere in the bank. What is some of the things that you're looking forward to in the game against Aiken, particularly when you played them last time? The offense was working, it was clicking, and I think what made the offense work well at Aiken was the floor spacing on the offensive end. It seemed that the girls were taking good shots, the right shot, using the extra pass if necessary to find the better shot for the team.
Well, number one, there's no substitute for shooting the ball well, which we did down there, and I think we were 11 for 22 from the 3 or 10 for 22. When you make 10 threes, it makes it a lot easier to score. And again, you take what the offense gives you. you've got to decide. We have to decide as coaches. They've got to decide as coaches. Do you go over or under ball screens? How are you going to guard ball screens? Do you trap ball screens? We got some opportunities off ball screens. We also gave them some opportunities off ball screens. I thought they shot the ball pretty well against us, and they made some shots. And it was a good game from the offensive standpoint, and a game that ended up right about 70 for both teams. So it was a very good game. They got a lot of weapons. They've got 4 kids that are averaging right at double figures, and so they've got some good shooters. And you put that around the big girl, it just makes it difficult because she's one of the toughest matchups in the Peach Belt because of her length and athletic ability.
Absolutely, and I think one of the other things that was working well in the last matchup against Aiken, AP probably had the best game of her season so far. 27 points. She was 10 of 16 from the floor, 4 of 9 from beyond the arc. And then Mel, on top of that, was 50% from not only the floor, but the three-point line. Is that something that you can try to build upon when you face Aiken for a second time?
Well, I thought that was a breakout game for AP. She really kind of showed what she can do. Mel made some shots down there, but again, it's taking advantage of what the defense gives you. They do a lot of switching defensively, so try to take advantage of mismatches inside and mismatches on the perimeter. When we get those mismatches with little on big, we've got to go inside. When we get it with big on little, we've got to be ready to shoot the ball or drive those big kids, and take them to the basket. So I think it's trying to figure out, where your mismatches are, where your opportunities are, and take advantage of that. So again, we try to play inside out as best we can, and it just depends on how the defense adjusts to what we do and what we're allowed to do and what they give us. Whether it's the perimeter shot, and they zone some too. So obviously against zones, you might take a few more perimeter shots than you do against the man-to-man.
I think not only adjusting to what the other team gives you, but I think another thing that you preach is limiting the amount of turnovers. And in the last game against Aiken, you only turned the ball over 8 times. And I think that's something that you've been preaching throughout the season. Sometimes the ball's going to be turned over, but I guess the emphasis of protecting the basketball, hoping that you guys can have less than 10 or 11 turnovers for this game.
I think a couple things that hurt you, and we did a good job. One of the differences is Augusta here, we did a good job of taking care of the ball, and then Aiken, we did a good job of taking care of the ball. Just limiting turnovers to get more opportunities offensively. But I think the 2 things that you've got to do is number one, reduce the self-inflicted turnovers. It's the bad decisions. It's that person was guarded, but we threw it anyway. Or we're coming up against a press and we know we've got everybody behind us and we still let somebody back tap it and steal it from us. I just think, the poor decision turnovers we're trying to eliminate. People are going to force you into some turnovers, and if they're forced turnovers, that's one thing. Second thing is to stay away from the live ball turnovers that result in runouts for the other team and easy opportunities for the other team.
And I couldn't agree more. You talked earlier about size advantages and mismatches. Quijel Farah is their go-to person in the post, leading the conference in rebounds per game with 11. She had 14 and 12 against the Braves the last time you guys played. I guess what's the game plan as far as containing her on the glass? Because there are some rebounds that she might get, whether it's a long rebound, but she is definitely one of the main catalysts that makes the Pacers go.
Well, I think a couple things we try to do with any big is try to get them off their spots. Just try not to let them set up too deep, because if they set up too deep, it's going to be a long night for us. So try to get her off her spots and make her score over you. Make sure we box out the shooter. I mean, we gave up probably 3 offensive rebounds, big offensive rebounds, Saturday against Augusta, where the post player shot it, turned around and went back and got it. And we can't have those mistakes. We've got to box her out. I think the other thing is they're doing a lot of driving stuff. We've kind of got to stay attached to her. You start helping off her, they're going to either dump down or they're going to put up on the rim, and you've got no chance to box her out. So I think staying attached with her and making sure you're putting a body on her is going to be very important.
It brings up my next and final point. In the last game against Aiken, they only made 6 of 25 from beyond the arc, and a lot of their field goals were driving inside the paint, whether it was a guard penetrating and dishing it off to another post player, or vice versa, where the post player would get it up top and find an open person either out on the wing or down below. So the emphasis on containing and defending the paint when you're on defense.
Yeah, I think it's both. They've got some kids that can do both, drive it and shoot it. A lot of times you'll have a just shoot person or a just drive person that doesn't shoot very well, and they've got a combination of kids that are shooting a decent percentage from the three that can also put the ball on the floor. So, you've got to, some of them you got to close real hard to, some of them you got to kind of close and contain, being ready to contest a three-point shot, knowing they can drive it also. So it's hard to play their perimeter players just one way or another. You kind of got to play a lot of them straight up to guard against the three-point shot, but also be ready for the drive and not get our defense too spread out. I think one thing when we're guarding shooters, and there are some kids we'll face guard and just stay with, but we don't do that with many kids, and you got to understand you still got to be in the gap. You just got to close hard once that pass is in the air if you're guarding a shooter and make them put it on the floor. So we got to do a better job of that also. But they're a good offensive team. I mean, you look at their offensive stats; they're up there and scoring in the league. They've struggled a little bit lately, but they're a good offensive team.
Absolutely. Coach, a game that ended last time on a Melanie Horn buzzer beater 3 probably may not happen that same way again. If it does, hopefully in our favor. But best of luck on Wednesday night against Aiken.
Thank you.